Good evening, y'all. Hope you had a great weekend. This video, it's going to be relatively short, just checking out some things that happened over the weekend, and hopefully my microphone isn't all jacked up because I made some adjustments, so hopefully it's all good, and if it's not, then I'll make some adjustments before tomorrow's episode. So we're going to start here with Thomas Massie from only an hour ago. I joined MKRAJU, Raju, on Inside Politics this morning. We discussed the Epstein files released tomorrow. I'll view unredacted files at the DOJ on Wednesday in the Judiciary GOP. I will question AG Pam Bondi. Why didn't I go on Fox News? Because they are ignoring the Epstein files. So that's quite interesting.
Republicans have just one vote to spare with their razor-thin majority in the House. But one Republican has drawn more ire from President Trump than any other. This was Friday at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington.
No matter what we do, this moron, no matter what it is, we'll get 100% vote except for this guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him.
Thomas Massie, a libertarian.
Well, Trump's kind of pissed off at him because he's been voting along with Democrats on many issues lately.
Bills, and now a leader in pushing for the full release of the Epstein files over the president's furious objections. He joins me now live from his farm in Kentucky. Congressman Massie, thank you so much for being here. I do want to ask you about that comment from the President of the United States insulting you like that at the National Prayer Breakfast.
Which, by the way, do you really believe that Fox News wouldn't have him on? I'm not so sure I believe that.
First of all, I'm glad to know I'm in the president's prayers. But second of all, you know, on the internet, some people have suggested that MIT should take my degree away. And my response is, which one should they take away? I have 2 degrees from MIT.
Well,
la-di-da. Sorry you booked a moron today on your show.
Well, fair enough. I do want to talk to you about your fight to release the Epstein files in a minute. But first, I want to get your reaction to the news about how the president posted, then deleted this racist video depicting the Obama as apes. He has refused to apologize. Do you think he should apologize to the Obamas?
Okay, good grief. All right, fine. I mean, since they're going to bring it up, I'm going to show the entire video right now. It's less than a minute long. Because, yes, it does show the Obamas as apes. It's a meme video. It's not something that Trump created. It's something that was reposted by Trump or whoever who's handling Trump's account. It also shows a number of other different politicians. Not to say that I'm downplaying this in any way. It is a meme video. They knew what they were doing, whoever who created this. They also have, I think Pepe is down here at the bottom left corner at some point in the video. But anyway, let's give this a play. Well, the donkey was fitting. There's Pepe. Hilarious. Okay, now that you got the full context of that, let's continue.
Absolutely apologize. He's gone too far. I mean, he's attacked my wife recently online, and I do think there are limits. If for a while it's kind of funny, but once you pass certain guardrails, like attacking a man's spouse or getting into racist tropes, I think it's somebody at the White House, maybe Susie Wiles, needs to go to the president and just ask him for his phone and maybe ask him just to show him the tweet before he sends it out.
Yeah, just to follow up on your wife, because it is.
You know, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Thomas Massie. Has he been anti-Trump going all the way back to 2016? Because I have a feeling he probably has. One of those never-Trumper.
It doesn't make me angry, but it's unfair
Republicans, rhinos.
To my spouse. I mean, look, Donald Trump was giving to Democrats when my wife was working for Right to Work and Campaign for Liberty, and Rand Paul, in fact, worked in Rand Paul's office over a decade ago, back when Donald Trump was still a Democrat.
Yeah, Rand Paul, he's from Kentucky too, and he's been pretty anti-Trump on a number of things as well.
He says about her is untrue. but it's beyond the pale. And people recoil
Although
when he
Rand
goes
Paul,
to those
he's big
racist
on
tropes or
not
when he
adding money
attacks
to the national
spouses.
deficit.
It's just
So I
uncalled
definitely
for.
agree with him on
Okay,
that.
so let's talk about the Epstein files. Of course, it was your legislation that requires the Trump administration to have released all the Epstein files by last December.
Yep,
The Justice Department
December
now
13th.
has
They were
released more
quite
than
late.
3 million documents, and it says the Justice Department is saying that they have fully complied with the law. Is the Trump
but they
administration
haven't.
complying with the law?
They haven't, and I've shown it on The Swamp last week on a number of occasions, maybe even the week before last as well. There's a number of documents that have come out from the Epstein files release where they are redacting names of people sending emails to Jeffrey Epstein or Jeffrey Epstein sending emails to these individuals who are clearly not victims, and they're saying comments like the little girl last night was amazing and this really sick, twisted shit. And they're redacting those names of obvious perpetrators, of obvious predators. And that's the whole point of playing this video of Thomas Massie, because tomorrow the Epstein files are going to be available for the Congress to view behind closed doors, of course. So he's going to view them. And according to Thomas Massie, which we're going to hear here in a minute, he's apparently going to pose these questions to AG Bondi as to why are they redacting names of people who are clearly not victims.
No, well, they missed the deadline, but that's not the worst part.
Yeah, they missed it by over a month.
The two worst parts are they're releasing victims' information. I mean, just outright lists of victims. It's terrible. And
yeah, so look, I'm not going to run any cover for the DOJ. I'm just going to repeat what they said. Because they had the deadline of December 13th, there were 3 million additional files that fell in their lap just a week or two before that deadline. So they had to go through manually 3 million individual pages to redact everything, which is why it was late. And they said that because they were working against time to such an extreme degree with only a limited amount of personnel, 24/7 around the clock, that there may possibly be some names here and there. There should be only a few of them, but if there are any, please let us know as far as the victims' names. If there are any victims' names that should have been redacted that we missed for any reason, please contact the DOJ immediately and give us the document name, and we will correct it ASAP. I'm not saying that that's right or anything. Obviously, no victim's name should be in those files at all. I'm just saying what the DOJ said.
Beyond that, they are withholding the perpetrators' names. There's still 302 files. Those are the forms that the FBI fills out after they interview witnesses and victims, and they're still withholding those. And they're over redacting the documents that have, they relate to some really sketchy emails.
Yeah, they're not allowed to be doing
who
that.
the sender was. And so
victims
really
only
need to come
should be
off some more
redacted.
information. Monday, Todd Blanche said that members of Congress can come and start viewing those redactions. Ro Khanna and I are very interested in going and reviewing some of those redactions, but there are also files that we need to see. And finally, Pam Bondi will be in front of my committee. I serve on the Judiciary Committee this coming week on Wednesday.
Well, that
And
shall
so
be
I'll have
interesting.
some questions for her.
A mark
related
on my
to the
calendar
Epstein
for that
files.
one.
What are you going to ask her?
Well, where are the rest of the documents?
Why are
did
you
they release
redacting
victims'
names?
They took extra time, they said, to be safe. And, what are these redactions? Now, we may get to see those redactions. Hopefully, we can go to the DOJ before she shows up on Wednesday and see how responsive they are to us in person. But, she's not, if you notice, they don't put her out in front anymore. They put Todd Blanche out in front, because she's been all over the map. She has no credibility on this. She said there's a ton of files. They're on my desk. I'm going to release them. And then she said there's nothing but, child sexual abuse material, and nobody wants to see that. And then she said, oh, we found a whole bunch more, and there are going to be more investigations. But what are those investigations, for instance?
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, look, I'm not a huge fan of Thomas Massie at all. Like I said, I don't know hardly anything about him. I just know he's been anti-Trump on just about everything that I've seen. However, he is right about that, because if you remember, when was that? Like February, maybe March of last year, when especially Trump himself, when he was running in 2024, said that they're going to release all the Epstein files and we're going to get to the bottom of everything. And a couple of months after he was inaugurated, Pam Bondi came out and said that we're ready to release the files. We're going to drop them into the laps of all the press. And the the media showed up and they were flashing, they were taking pictures and selfies with those binders that said like Epstein files on it or something ridiculous. And then a week later, they said, oh, well, we're actually not going to release anything because there's just nothing to see. So, yeah, I can't say I was a big fan of that.
So there's a whole host of questions for her, but I'm glad that she's coming to judiciary. She hasn't been there since she's been attorney general.
How are you gonna respond if they don't fully comply with the law? I mean, you had told me before that you may go to the floor and actually read the names of people on the alleged Epstein client list. Are you still planning to do that?
Well, look, if he does do that, that's not really illegal, would it? Or would it be considered illegal for him to read the names of those redacted individuals that were in emails addressed to Jeffrey Epstein or vice versa? I don't think so, because the Epstein Files Transparency Act specifically says that only the victims' names can be redacted, unless I misread it.
I'm ready to do that if the victims want me to. They believe that the best
Oh,
way
that's
to get
bullshit. He
justice
should
is
just
to
do it
force
regardless.
the DOJ to release these names. I've already read one name in a committee with the FBI director there. That's Jess Staley. And again, he may or may not be guilty, but he's been accused by these victims. The lawyer tells me.
Well,
there are other
oh
names.
yeah,
I
okay.
don't have
So he's
them
gonna
in
look
my
for his name on
possession,
Monday.
But if the victims want to give them to me, I've expressed that I'm willing to do that. But again, the best way is to force the DOJ to release those names on those 302 forms.
Trump's
Well, that would
Commerce
certainly
Secretary
validate their
Howard
claims
Lutnick
against
said that
individuals.
He and his wife decided around 2005 to cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein. But the latest release shows that there was some correspondence after that, even after Epstein pleaded guilty to sex crimes in 2008. What questions do you have about Lutnick's ties to Epstein, and should he come before Congress and testify?
No, he should just resign. I mean, there are three people in Great Britain that have resigned in politics. The ambassador from Great Britain to the United States.
Anti-Trump administration,
the prince
apparently.
lost his title for less than what we've seen Howard Lutnick lie
Not that I know Howard Lutnick's involvement. I do know that they came out recently,
if we believe what's
where he
in
said
these
he had no
files.
connection
He
to
was in
Epstein, and then the
business with
files
Jeffrey
revealed that he
Epstein.
did, and then he's like,
And this
oh,
was
well, there's
many
only
years
just that
after
one time.
Jeffrey Epstein was convicted, lightly sentenced, but was convicted.
But what, he
for
should
sexual
resign because he
crimes.
met
So
with
he's
Jeffrey
got a lot
Epstein?
to answer
I guess
for,
it
but
depends on the
really,
context.
he
If he went to Epstein Island,
on the president, frankly, and just
yeah, probably should resign.
If this were Great Britain, he'd already be gone.
And just for the record, the Commerce Department says that he had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife, has never been accused of wrongdoing. I do want to ask you about Trump, because his name has been mentioned more than 1,000 times.
Oh, so many thousands of times.
Do you think that he should answer?
Which is quite convenient, because all those times that he was mentioned were during FBI interviews and other types of testimony and interviews and statements. I believe every single one of those instances where Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files was after he became president in 2016 with the whole Russia and everything. I believe that was just part of the whole deep state's agenda, was to try to infuse Trump's name into the Epstein files as many times as humanly possible. And like every time that his name is mentioned, it's been stated over and over again that it's been proven the individuals bringing up Trump's name was not credible. Plus, how many of those times were mentioned with regard to Epstein being at Mar-a-Lago back in the 90s before Trump, who Trump already admitted that he did visit Mar-a-Lago. I think he was even a member of Mar-a-Lago at some point. And as soon as Trump found out, the nasty shit that Epstein was alleged to be involved with, he revoked his membership immediately and kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. So a lot of those instances of Trump being mentioned in the Epstein files probably just has to do with people just echoing the fact that Epstein was at Mar-a-Lago back in the 90s.
Questions to Congress to maybe even testify about what he knows.
I wouldn't go there yet. I think that most of the men that are implicated in these files, they're billionaires, they're friends of Trump, they're people who are in his social circles. To get justice for the survivors,
they're friends with a lot of people,
I
dude.
want to see those men brought to justice.
They're friends with quite a lot of Democrats.
And I have tried to keep this from being political.
Look, I think as far as prominent names, it sounds like that there's a lot more prominent names that are aligned with the left, with Democrats, than there are with the right, Republicans, conservatives.
In some respects, we've failed. The Democrats want to make this about Trump, and the Republicans want to make it about the Clintons. I want to make it about the survivors and getting them justice and transparency.
Mr. Massie,
why don't we just make it about everybody named?
Target this primary season.
Unredact the names except the victims.
Behind your opponent, and Galrine, and Congressman Andy Barr, a member of your delegation, has now endorsed your opponent. Trump has knocked off incumbents in the past by endorsing their challengers. How hard is it going to be for you to overcome the president and his MAGA allies in your primary?
Well, look, I vote with the president 91% of the time. The 9% of the time my party is taken up for pedophiles, bankrupting this country, or starting another war, I don't vote with them. And they want 100% compliance. That's why they're trying to take me out. It's really about keeping my colleagues in line. They're under no illusion that I will snap back into line because they're spending.
Well, look, and there is some ring of truth when he's talking about quote unquote bankrupting the country, because when they did the major tax cuts, the one big beautiful bill, the only way that they were able to do that was to increase the national deficit. That's how they were able to cut our taxes, because they didn't downsize the government enough to be able to give us the hundreds of billions of dollars in tax cuts that we're getting this season.
Millions of dollars against me. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to win. I did notice that at one of his statements, the president had been saying I was polling at 6%. Now he says I'm at 9%. So I'm glad to see I've gone up 3% in his polling. The thing is, he just pulls those poll numbers out of thin air. And my polling shows that I'm winning in spite of millions of dollars being spent against me by the Epstein class, Miriam Adelson, John Paulson, and Paul Singer, who are showing up in these Epstein files. They're 3 billionaires from New York and West Palm Beach who are trying to fund this effort against me.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky.
All right. So let me just double check and just make sure that I am actually legit in saying that. Here, let me put short so we don't have to get long-winded. So was the national deficit raised in order to give the tax cuts from the beautiful bill? I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. I'm pretty sure that I've read that more than one occasion. I don't know why I was looking up 2017. Okay, so it says no, the national debt was not intentionally raised to enable the tax cuts in the 20. Oh, no. Hold on, not 2017. What the hell? All right, well, let's try this again. Was the national deficit raised in order to give the tax cuts from the one big beautiful bill in 2025? Okay, so also it says the same thing. No, the national deficit was not intentionally raised, quote unquote raised, to enable the tax cuts in the 2025 One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Instead, the bill's tax cuts extending 2017 TCJA provisions and adding new ones reduced federal revenues by about $4.5 trillion over 10 years, leading to a net deficit increase of $3.4 trillion despite some spending offsets. Okay, a net deficit increase of $3.4 trillion. Okay, so I elaborated a little bit, leading to a net deficit increase of $3.4 trillion despite some spending offsets. Does this directly add to the national deficit? And now it's saying yes, a net deficit increase directly adds to the cumulative federal budget deficits over the specified period, which is over 10 years, which in turn contributes to the national debt. So it sounds like it's in some roundabout way, not directly. The One Big Beautiful Bill didn't directly tack money onto the national deficit in order to give the tax cuts, but it just sounds like in a roundabout way, it does contribute to an increased deficit over a period of 10 years. At least that's how I'm reading it. So I don't know. It's kind of convoluted, I think, but it wasn't as simple as reducing the size of the government, and therefore the amount of money saved from reducing the size of the government just went to everybody in the form of tax cuts. I mean, even though they should be reducing the size of the government and, taking the same amount of money in that they're bringing in currently and just trying to pay down the principal as soon as possible. But all right, anyway, I don't want to get into the weeds on all that. So this is from Rawls Alerts from 45 minutes ago. Breaking: over 5 million people are reportedly tuning into Turning Point USA's All-American Halftime Show, an alternative live stream timed to coincide with the NFL's official halftime performance as conservative critics protest the league's choice of Bad Bunny to headline the Super Bowl. What is that, LX? Is that 60? Halftime show? I don't know. I don't watch sports. I think the Seahawks are playing, but I don't know who the other team is. And I'm not kidding. I honestly don't know because I just don't pay attention to it. This isn't a video, and I did that purposefully because I don't know if it's going to nail me with a copyright. I have a feeling it might, because they want people exclusively tuning into Turning Point USA to view it. So you can go to Turning Point USA's profile. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's probably pretty easy to find this halftime show. But anyway, man, 5 million people which I would argue a significant amount of that is being taken away from the Super Bowl, and it's not going to have as high as a viewership during the halftime show as it otherwise would have, which is the whole point. And plus, Kid Rock, I think, is also performing at Turning Point USA. All right, moving on. C3, this disappeared fast, didn't it? Wonder why. That was when Ilhan Omar was given some speech somewhere in a very small space with probably less than 100 people talking about who knows what, probably anti-ICE nonsense. And this guy who was sitting in the front row and right in the middle stood up and took out a syringe and squirted some apple cider vinegar that was diluted with water at her. Not at her face, he just shot it at her chest area. And then he yelled some obscenities, and he was tackled by old dude back there, and he was hauled off to jail. Supposedly, he was arrested for this. Let me grab that because I do have something on here with regard to this. The man who threw liquid on Ilhan Omar, is he in jail or being charged? Supposedly, he is in jail, and he's facing charges. The suspect, Anthony Kazmierzak, 55, sprayed Rep. Ilhan Omar with apple cider vinegar mixed with water from a syringe during a Minneapolis town hall on January 27th. He was immediately arrested. He faces federal charges from the Justice Department for forcibly assaulting, opposing, impeding, or intimidating a federal employee. He also faces state charges in Minnesota, including felony terroristic threats and fifth-degree assault. A federal judge ruled in early February 2026 he must remain in custody pending further proceedings, denying release. As of the latest reports around February 3rd through 8th, he is detained. No updates indicate release or resolution yet. So I guess according to quote-unquote official sources, the dude was indeed arrested. He wasn't quietly let go or anything like that. So I asked in the comments as well, is the man in jail right now? And Grok says, yes, charged with assaulting Rep. Omar, is town hall in federal custody, pending trial, yada, yada. It sounds like somebody also replied. I would find the jail records. I don't believe it, which I know I tend to not really believe it either. Because I don't just blindly believe everything that Grok puts in front of me either. I think that's actually a fair point, fair question, because probably did not receive any sources from any local jail records. I'm assuming to do a jailhouse search on any website in Minnesota, it's probably going to cost you, I don't know what it is, like what, $10, maybe $20 or something like that. But I'm not seeing anything official, just, a whole bunch of just mainstream news articles, Facebook, YouTube. Anyway, so let's move on to the next topic here. What else do we got? For tonight? Okay, so another one from C3. The Democrats demanded body cams during BLM, and it was a massive backfire. People got to see what the police were actually up against. Now, the Democrats do not want ICE wearing body cams now because it would do the same thing again. There's an image that he shared. I'm assuming these are all instances of where the mainstream media and the hair on fire outrage mob left-wing crowd, they were all screaming that these are all victims and that the police murdered them and so on and so forth, and it turned out to not be true. So I remember a few that happened over the years. I'm sure that a lot more than just a few happened where somebody was killed by the police because they were most likely attacking the police or doing something of that nature, and it turned out that they were indeed the perpetrator, and it wasn't the police just killing people in cold blood like the left wants everybody to believe. And I think it's hilarious because they are. Gunther Engelman breaking: Democrats are flipping out over Trump ordering body cams for ICE and border agents, something they demanded, which they did. They were up on their podiums in all of their states and their meetings and their rallies. All of these Democrat politicians were demanding body cameras on federal agents and how disgusting, despicable that they don't have body cameras right now. They've been out for over 10 years. Why the hell don't federal agents have body cams? And so the Trump administration, the DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, they've all said that we're going to be fitting them with body cameras immediately. They're going to be using funding that's already been allocated directly to the Department of Homeland Security, and they're going to hook up body cams to every single agent. Let's see. Now they're crying about mass surveillance of protesters and begging for restrictions on the footage, Classic Democrat hypocrisy. Push for body cams, hold agents accountable, and then panic when it might expose their chaos mobs. Trump's team is delivering transparency on their terms. No more games. The left wanted it. Now they've got it, and they're terrified. Good. Yeah. I mean, look, when what's his name, Alex Preddy, when he was killed by agents during that struggle, the DOJ, they said that any body camera footage is going to be reviewed and will determine at a later time if it's going to be released. And then I read somewhere that there wasn't any body cam footage. The same with Renee Good when she was shot in her vehicle after she tried to run over one of the ICE agents. And it turns out they didn't have body cameras. So, I mean, I said that early on, back when those two incidents happened, that, dude, it's kind of crazy that federal agents don't have freaking body cameras. I mean, every other police department, local, state, they all have body cameras. I don't know why the hell they don't catch up, but, you know, that's the federal government for you. They move at a snail's pace. And from Asmongold, Zach, body cams dispel narratives. That's why agitators hate them. It's much easier to break the law and run away than when the police are about to get you. You turn the camera on and pretend to be a victim. And from Politico, this article is pretty much what started this whole minor firestorm with regard to Democrats. All of a sudden, they don't want body cameras. And everybody is pointing to this Politico article from February 7th. Democrats fear body cameras could be ICE's new mass surveillance tool. Of course, they believe that. A push to put body cameras on all ICE agents has Democrats running headlong into a new problem. Fear that the technology will provide another avenue for mass surveillance of protesters. Congressional Democratic leaders have made universal use of body cameras one of their prime demands for imposing accountability on immigration and customs enforcement, especially after federal agents fatally shot 2 American citizens in Minneapolis. Well, plus, these agents, they're on public property, they're in the public, they're doing their ICE raids and everything. Look, I know when they go into a house, that's not public property. So at least from the local and the state authorities, from their perspective, whenever they have to go in and make an arrest and they walk into somebody's private residence, all of that footage is blurred out because, you know, they do have to honor and abide by their Fourth Amendment rights. So I'm assuming that anytime they step into private property, that body cam footage isn't going to be publicly available, I would assume. So anyway, congressional Democrat leaders have made universal use of body cameras one of their prime demands for imposing accountability. Okay, I already read that, didn't I? Okay, but after an outcry from privacy advocates that surveillance tools will allow ICE agents to identify and track protesters, Democrats are also calling for restrictions on how the body cameras can be used. Lawmakers and legal observers have accused ICE of leveraging a variety of cameras to surveil protesters, feeding pictures into license plate readers and facial recognition systems. Democrats now worry that the body cameras they're demanding could be used for similar purposes. Well, look, most of these quote-unquote protesters, they're committing crimes by way of obstruction at a minimum. If they're standing in the middle of the road and ICE enforcement is trying to get through said road, every single person in the road is committing obstruction, punishable by up to 8 years. It's a felony. So for them to take all of that information, their faces, their license plates, and they feed it into a system so they could prosecute them later, look, I can't say that I'm all about the surveillance state. However, if they're blatantly breaking laws and they're impeding their ability to arrest violent criminal illegal immigrants and also violent protesters assaulting cops and then cowardly running back into the crowd and disappearing, you know, I can't say I'm exactly against them using certain tools and technologies in order to get them arrested. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer say they want to tack on restrictions to how ICE can use body camera footage, according to a letter sent to Republican leadership on Wednesday night. Okay, well, what do they want to do exactly? Prohibit tracking, creating, or maintaining databases of individuals participating in First Amendment activities. It's unclear how the request for new limits on surveillance will affect ongoing negotiations with Republicans to pass a funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. Republicans already agreed to provide more funding for body cameras for ICE officers before Democrats began pushing for limits on how the images are used. Well, they can wear body cameras. We just don't want them to, record anything. A spokesperson for Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chair Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, told Politico that Democrats are lining up behind leadership to push for the restrictions, fueled by reports of ICE tracking protesters. ICE launched an internal investigation on ICE's use of surveillance after Warner sent a letter flagging privacy worries. Senator Ed Markey, who proposed a ban on ICE agents using facial recognition, also supported surveillance limits on body cameras. Obviously, we want them to be wearing body cameras, but we would want restrictions placed on what information could be used for. We want to make sure that we have the accountability for how these officers conduct themselves on the streets of our country, but we don't want it in turn to be used as a way of coming back and suppressing free speech. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said President Trump would not accept any deals that undermine ICE's enforcement capabilities. Quote, I know Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries sent over a very long list of demands, some of which the administration is willing to discuss. Others don't seem like they're grounded in any common sense, and they are non-starters for this administration, she said at a press conference on Thursday. All right, so anyway, I will link that if you want to finish the rest of the article. It's not a super long read. There's probably about like 5 minutes left of it, but like I said, it's not going to be a very long video tonight. Patricia Iguino, good morning. I'm screaming at ICE agents going inside the Whipple building in Minnesota. How lovely. Damn, dude, she should be a lead for a metalcore band. All right, Zeke Arkham, dear Cocoa Puffs, no, your arrest wasn't a groundbreaking civil rights issue. You're not a victim of anything. You went into a church and disrupted their service. Okay, by the way, they're talking about Don Lemon. And so he said the church pastor had to nicely ask you to leave. No one in that church did anything to you to cause you to interrupt their service. This wasn't the March on Washington. This wasn't crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. This wasn't Stonewall. This was a dude being a troublemaker in order to get some relevancy. Congratulations, because you actually completed your goal for a change. No hugs. Hugs are for people who are actually fighting against oppression, like women who are fighting to keep men out of their sports, although most women I know could tune you up. Zeke. Breaking number one, Don Lemon compares himself to civil rights leaders after his arrest.
Can you imagine the state having control of your freedom simply because they don't like that you are doing your job? So that was very frightening to me, but in my time when I was there, I thought about all the people who'd come before me. I thought about all of the people who fought for civil rights, who fought for gay rights, all of the people who were at Stonewall, Marsha P. Clark. I'm like, yes, those are the people, those are the real heroes. And so what's happening to me, I have, at least in this time that I'm living now, more agency, more resources, more rights, and I would hope, than the people who were fighting for our freedom and our civil rights.
Yeah, okay, whatever, dude. I would probably liken Don Lemon more to Juicy Smollett than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But anyway, yeah, he said that, where was that? Human Rights Campaign, given his speech, which, by the way, he was released with no bail. They let him out with no bail, and they also approved his request to go to France. He's going to vacation in France with his who is it? His boyfriend, his fiance, husband. I don't know who he is to him, but apparently he was given the judge's blessing to go over to France to vacation in June. All right, Mario Nawfal. Epstein used World of Warcraft gold to move money without getting traced. Back in 2007, Bannon was coincidentally running a Chinese company that sold in-game gold for real cash after a few trades. Good luck tracking where the money came from. I'm not familiar with this at all. Not just I understand what World of Warcraft is, but I don't ever play video games. But for Steve Bannon to be connected to that, I honestly didn't know that. I guess you learn something new every day if that's true. Hello, Jeffrey. Congratulations. You have successfully created a battle.net account and activated a free trial of World of Warcraft. The name of your account is jeevacation@gmail.com. To begin your adventures, follow these steps. So was this in the Epstein files? I would assume that it probably was. Anyway, just a couple of just standard images. And from Mario Nawfal, even Pfizer was tied to Epstein. In 2013, while still a registered S offender, Epstein got a private invite list marked just for your info. On it, JP Morgan CEO, Canada's development minister, top global officials, and Caroline Rohn, then president of the Pfizer Foundation. Interesting. So it reads, from Andrew Farnham, sent Sunday, September 15th, 2013, to Boris Nikolic. And the subject, are you leading this? The panel will be in front of a crowd of 250, including many outside guests, HNWIs, foundations, pharma companies, etc. After the panel, there is a 20-minute meeting with the key GHIF investors to thank them for partnering. The people at the meeting will be Jamie Dimon, Jamie Cooper Hahn, Christian Paradis, Charlotte Petri Gornitska, Ursula Mueller, Klaus Mueller, Monsef Ciali, Bob McMahon, Caroline Roan, Sabina Kosick. I'm not seeing Jeffrey Epstein, but here's the follow-up up here at the top from Boris Nikolic to Jeffrey Epstein. Forward, are you leading this? And it says, not for sending out equals just for your info. So, I mean, looks like somebody just forwarded the email to him. I mean, I'm not sure how damning that is exactly, but I mean, apparently it is, because I guess this Boric or the Caroline Rowan, I mean, that wasn't who sent it to Jeffrey Epstein, but anyway, I don't know. I mean, this wasn't the post for being the reason why I tagged this for this episode. It was this one. But anyway, we'll move on. Rep. Nancy Mace, when the government uses its power to protect potential predators and child Rs, it's no longer serving justice, it's obstructing it. Former presidents, secretaries, and celebrities do not deserve the same protection as Epstein victims either. They are not the same. So this appears to be one of those emails that Thomas Massie was probably talking about. So from redacted, and they've got in parentheses New York and FBI to redacted, CC, all redacted. So here at the bottom, from redacted to redacted. Good morning, sir. Bluff, IMD, RIDS, request guidance redacting photographs. Who is protected under this transparency task? As mentioned above, we need guidance to redact 1B items. IMD-RIDS is requesting clear and consistent guidance to process 1B items. There are several boxes that need to be processed, and sooner they have clear and consistent guidance, the sooner they can start processing those items. And it gave a serial number. 1B items contain photographs of multiple individuals to include the subjects of this investigation, which is Epstein and Maxwell. IMD-RIDS needs clear and specific guidance to redact those photographs, and this is highlighted here. Some photographs depict victims, unknown identified females and males, former U.S. presidents, the Secretary of State, and other celebrities. The software does not have 1A facial recognition to assist with the identification of some of public officials and celebrities. And then the follow-up to that, all redacted. Do we have clear guidelines for redacting images? And then the most recent, do you know what is the guidance for redacting images, or who would be able to assist with the guidance? B is CSAM, victims, etc. Please see below for additional details. So that's the email that she shared. Okay, so we'll move on to End Wokeness. Rep. Jean Wu goes mask off. Quote, non-whites share the same oppressor, and we are the majority now. We can take over this country. Wasn't this dude born in China? I don't know. It's spoken like a true CCP operative.
I tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning, because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what
no, the only oppressor that exists these days is the Democratic Party and the freaking welfare state.
Is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided. And I talk about this.
Yeah, well, no thanks to Democrats. They're the ones that have always been all about segregation. All right, Eric Doherty, holy crap, total anarchy as Antifa rioters go haywire outside the Milan, Italy Winter Olympics, attacking police for hours. Antifa is a terror organization worldwide, man. Check this out. Holy shit. Yeah, that's Antifa, shooting stupid fireworks. Know your enemy. Yeah, their enemy is literally everybody. Maybe they're just celebrating the Olympics. It's like the 4th of July down there. Dude, they know how to riot, that's for damn sure. They riot a lot harder than American Antifa. In America, they shoot off the mortars, not nearly that many. They'll shoot off a couple mortars, they'll open up their umbrellas to not be identified, and they throw stuff and they run. Like, they don't stick around. They usually they'll throw something and they'll run away. All right, so the best, Japan has begun the process of shushification of annoying tourists. If they see you causing trouble, they'll wrap you up and send you to be deported. LOL. Happening in Japan. Look, I'm not too big on, or I'm not very knowledgeable with Japanese, but does this look like Japanese or does that look like Mandarin or Chinese? Oh, okay, no, never mind. Yeah, down here at the bottom, that definitely looks like Japanese. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely Japan. They do have a bag out. We're gonna wrap them up in a bag? Dude, what the hell? That's crazy. You just load them into the patrol car and off they go. Okay. I mean, we don't really have any knowledge of exactly when this was. I mean, I can only assume that it was recently. But anyway, yeah, man, that's happening in Japan. Genius tech, job's done. The cop just walks in, pepper sprays everyone, and walks away. Thoughts? This is wild. He just walks away. Well, it stopped the fight now, didn't it? Nope, actually it didn't. Okay, here they come for more. Man, even the camera guy got hit. All right, well, anyway, that happened. I don't think it said, yeah, it doesn't say where it was. Not sure. I see the leaves on the trees, so either it's in the deep south, maybe in Florida, or it was just a different time of year, maybe last summer. So anyway, that is all that I've got for this episode. Not too long, just catching up on a few things that happened over the weekend, or just a few videos that I ended up catching. So anyway, a quick channel update. I've had microphone issues since I started my channel, and I think I finally found a device that will fix that background static when I talk, and it will allow me to boost my volume a bit, because I know I have to crank up the volume to hear myself decently on my YouTube videos. So I'm hoping to get that issue fixed. The device that I bought that's supposed to fix it, it's going to be here on Friday. So when I adjust the gain, it causes clipping. And I already threw the kitchen sink at it. I've gotten a different mixer, a different microphone, different XLR cables, different USB cables. I even ran the software voice meter between my hardware and OBS. And I've even replaced my entire PC. I thought my other PC was the issue, still persisting. I removed all the Bluetooth devices in my room, all Wi-Fi. The problem still continued, but I do use DisplayPort monitors. Apparently that might be one of the main causes for why there's like slight static every time that I'm talking in the microphone. So, I'm told that's probably an issue, too much power running through the system. And anyway, I have this device called an IFI Defender that's on the way. It's going to be here on Friday, and that should fix the background hiss, hopefully. So, and also that occasional crackle sound. Sometimes if I raise my voice, it might pop or deliver a little bit of crackling. Pop filter doesn't work. I've already tried that too. I've tried all of the different filters in OBS. I mean, I've spent many hours on OBS trying to tweak everything. I've played around with all of the different settings, all the properties. I've been through the entire ringer. It's been an ongoing thing going all the way back to August. I don't know if maybe my house isn't grounded properly. Maybe that could be an issue. I don't know, but supposedly that device that I'm getting should fix the problem. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like if you get a second and subscribe to the channel. And if you leave a comment, I might read it on tomorrow's episode, which I do the Swamp Monday through Friday, and I will be dropping that video at 11 o'clock p.m. So I hope you come back to check it out. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, and God bless America.